When it says it's recording, you know it's recording. Hey, friends, we are fearless. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Frances Young. This is the first intro you've ever heard. Many things I could say in this moment, but you're fucking fearless. Thank you for finding this podcast and choosing to hit play. My name is Frances. We are here in season 6. We are here after 2 years of creating a podcast, and somehow we're still doing the thing. Welcome or welcome back. And there's 2 things I need you to know in this short little let's get going moment. First thing, if you do not know what your human design energy type is, use my website. It's in the show notes. I'm not going to say it. You're going to find an area to put in some information. It's going to spit out a human design graph. You're going to use your birth information. Go text your mom. You're going to know what your human design is. If you've looked at them before and you still are like, I don't know what the fuck this means, that's fine. It's okay. You're going to learn more about yourself by listening to any season in this podcast, as well as season 6. If you're still like looking at it and you're like, why do I need to know this? My podcast in this season specifically is going to be about, yes, learning about your energy and your design, but throwing all of the things that you know out the window about your health and coming down to an episode and listening to someone who is a medical astrologer and looking at yourself a little differently than you did yesterday. Maybe the reason why you keep injuring your forearms is actually just because you're a Gemini sun or an Aquarius sun, and those parts of your body are very important. If you're a Pisces and you don't understand why you always have issues with your feet, or you could listen to an episode where I'm just rambling with one of my besties, Jamie, about why we hate the health and fitness industry so much. I love my job, my industry, and its constructs of how we think things should sell and what is important by mass media actually is making us feel more unfit and more unworthy. Fuck that. I want this to be a place where you can come and listen per week and be awed and that you are fearless doing whatever the hell you do with your life. If you feel the most authentically energized in your body today, you're probably living your design quite, to you. In 2 years of doing this podcast and seeing my life go in so many more directions and knowing my design for another 2 years, thinking I had it all down pat and then I needed to throw it all out the window and let life also show me what I was meant to do and what I am here saying to you in this moment. The number 2 thing that I only care that you know about and why you're here on this podcast is that you are fearless, is that you are the human you came here to be, in the soul, in the suit, I said it backwards, doesn't matter that it's Mercury retrograde as we record, that you are a soul having a human experience and you're not behind. You're not ahead of anyone else. You're here listening to this podcast for a reason. Doesn't matter how it got to you, but this information that you're about to listen to, it's going to help you somewhere, go in some way, or you're going to talk about it to somebody else. The cascade of the dominoes is, don't worry, honey, you're doing okay. If there's information about your health and your journey and your wellness in your life that you are meant to take from this, fuck yeah. Fantastic. If you're just meant to hear to have a laugh today, also awesome. Also awesome. We are going to get up into this episode of season 6 of This Fearless Life. And I thank you for being here today. Hey, friends, we are fearless. Welcome to the This Fearless Life podcast. And we are here on the last day of the year of the snake. Thank God. I have Ashli Scott with me. I love that you also laugh. We're both like, can we just have this over with?
Yeah. Can we be done molting now?
Yeah. Ashli, I'm so excited for you to be here with me today. And I'm not going to take any time on the floor. You get to introduce yourself. And I'm even in this moment excited to be like, okay, exactly who is Ashli more than who I know.
What a complicated question, right? One, just so thankful to be here. I'm really excited to be doing this. And I was really excited when you asked me too. We got to meet in Kira's class. So shout out to Kira for the introduction.
Kira Sutherland, we love you so much. You are our idol.
She's great. Yes, she's great. Yes, she's the queen. Aries queen for sure. Who am I? This is an interesting thing too, because I've been going through this process of labels, right? In the day that we live in, and because I do so much like ancestral work where we could just be in the village and be good at our craft. And now the days of like certifications and what are all the accolades that we have. I'm a Manny Jenny and I'm a heavy Sagittarium in my 6th house. So I'm going to give out the scroll of what I do to just give you like a little idea. Because I really like to take a customizable holistic approach when it comes to healing and the work that I do. I combine bodywork, medical intuition, herbalism, and alchemical acupressure to create a lot of integration. I'm a trauma-trained somatic practitioner and also certified in parasympathetic breathwork, energy healing. This connects to my movement background. I'm a primal movement instructor. I'm in an ongoing training right now with Budokan University, getting my mobility training certification. I am a sacral embodiment coach and a womb practitioner, and I'm currently finishing my Ayurveda health coach training in the next couple of months and a touch therapy training. I'm also currently in spinal attunement training. So a lot of things. Yeah. I am a shamanic practitioner and a medicine woman. So I've been facilitating private plant medicine ceremonies for about a decade now. I'm also, this is a recent thing, so very Italian, very Southern Italian. And a lot of the healing practices I do are in the realm of Benedicaria, which is a folk healing magic. We don't call it magic, but it is like a kind of folk healing practice. I'm about to start a lineage with that to go deeper into my lineage and to go deeper into the cultural connotations of that. I'm also a Hellenistic astrologer. I use divination in astrology a lot. I do human design. I'm broadening my astrology studies into medical astrology right now. So yeah, my Sagittarium is showing. I do a lot of things, and really I'm also a practicing ancestral and herbal magic practitioner. So a lot of the things that I do are all blended together to create customizable care for the people that I work with, as well as for myself.
So that you're able to also facilitate all of this beautiful
100%
work that you do. Yeah. So Sagittarian stellium of you. For anybody to just give that small context, we have so many different types of humans that listen to the Fearless Life podcast. It is also astrology forward, and Sagittarius is the teacher for life. It does not stop. And my North Node is in Sagittarius pretty much at the end. So I know. I get that at least.
100%. It was so funny because when we were in that class with Kira and she was talking about Sagittarius and she was like, and one of the shadows is indulgence. I was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, because, and through the lens of indulgence for me too, where it's, I do love to indulge in like learning, and that 1-3 part of my design like really is about like that experiential process of learning how to be in a care format, but not be a savior, because again, the shadow of that tree line. Be careful about that.
And you're, to say out loud as well, you're a Cancer rising like myself. Our moment of feeling like we are the ultimate mother of everyone.
100%.
As much as it's what we're stepping into in this lifetime with our rising, but also just knowing when to put down.
Yeah, to take the boob away. Take away the boob.
Right? I love that you just said that. Something that's going to come into be with this new season of season 6 for the podcast is essentially trying to have a reservoir of humans that can be contacted like yourself that are of this true health practitioners, of any kind. I'm even going to put myself as a health practitioner as being like personal trainer, at least first through my work of all the different things that I do, is humans now going into the Firehurst year that starts tomorrow, February 17th, is that we need all these humans that have so many different modalities to weave together to understand a type of potential issue that will come up in a client that comes to us. My first guess for you is that, do you deal predominantly with women?
Predominantly, yes. So I do work with men, but I am, even in my work now, I'm leaning more towards working primarily with women. A lot of that's due to my partner, Cameron Allen, who works in some of the same things and adjacent in some of the things I do. We're working together this year to create this yin and yang format of like, okay, when I have some men who, because really it's contextual, right? Because I'll work with men who need like that space of nourishment or need like permission to be allowed to have emotions, which is something that both my partner and I are very like passionate about, because I think the context of men feeling like it's okay for them to actually be in a softer expression is not something that's actually encouraged in the society that we live in. So I primarily work with women unless it's a man who needs like a feminine approach, and also like the ones that are a little more masculine are needing that activation. I'm starting to refer them to him, even some of the women that I work with. So we're actually working with like dual sessions now, where when I feel like they need more of that Saturnian, because he's like heavy Saturn, he's like a Cap Stellium and an Aquarius sun. I live with Saturn. Was
so innovative.
So like, interesting for me and all of my Sag energy. I'm like, yeah, actually I need that Earth, because I have no Earth in my chart except for Neptune and Capricorn. And I'm like, does that even count? I don't think so.
Probably not. I have Neptune and Uranus and Capricorn. It doesn't feel like it lives within me at all.
Right. It's like, I don't know. I find that my work is slowly moving more towards women in general, but definitely it's contextual. Does that answer your question? I feel like, that's just, we're going to wander around until we find like the answer to the question.
The like definitive answer. That's okay. No, I think that's amazing. And I love that you also get to tandem work with your partner on that. That must be a beautiful space that you've been able to start to understand that the two of you are really been put here together to, one, find each other, and two, bring forward all of this knowledge that you both have in your specialities.
Yeah, definitely a gift and a blessing. As someone who is like, and has been in the past, like very masculine oriented as far as my approach, and a lot of even my work, like when it comes to the little practitioner and the sacral embodiment, was really about the reclamation of my own feminine. So when he came in and it was actually on the table to have a partner that was an equal and that I didn't have to take charge and do everything for, and we could actually be in this like co-creative relationship. That I struggled with it at first, if I'm being honest, because again, I'm very much like, I'll just do it myself. It's been a really beautiful lesson for me in my own work with like my feminine essence to be with a masculine who can hold that space. Yeah.
That's absolutely beautiful. I'm like just holding space to soak that in myself for my own experience.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. We've got our cellular devices and our questions out in front of us. I'm actually going to use the question in front of me of where we're going to go next. I care about also the types of humans that are going to listen to this that are us, that are the practitioners of the world, that have lots of different things going on. They're not sure what to focus on or where we're being pushed now, as well with even what you were saying before we hit record of Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, wherever it is initiating in our chart. For us, it's our work. So it's staying our foundation of how
legacy,
literally to show the world how we work as health practitioners. How do you use your knowledge as a whole of what you give to your clients for your own health? Because if we're not right, we can't do the work that we're doing. So I want to know, what are your tools through all this self-care hype that we've been through in the past, let's put it when Pluto moving through Capricorn, of this is the way that we understand, but now it's gone into Aquarius full time, and we're like, we don't know how to look after our health and how to transform ourselves. So how do you look after yourself?
100%. We were talking a little bit before we were recording about just this energy that's being activated around essentially the destruction of certain like traditional structures and emotional stories that have been rampant in our collective, right? As we have like this ingress into Saturn with into Aries and Neptune, it's really kind of about, for me, it's like this question of like, what structures and systems do we have in place that actually need to be torn down? And where can we actually allow like the primal energy body, our instinct, lead us in the direction of what's good for us in each moment?
Our design.
And so, yeah, 100 and design 100%.
We'll get there eventually.
Yes, 100%. For me, living in the States, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that is shaking the collective awareness around these structures that are set in place. And it's super activating. We also have all this stuff like moving through Aquarius, right? And the eclipse is in Aquarius. So it definitely is like, how does our electric body remain intact or in contact with the collective when it's throwing us into a progressive spiral state of dysregulation, right?
I get reminded every single day how much I have to look after my nervous system. I forget all the time. That to me, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it feels to be regulated. I don't think I've been regulated for the majority of my adult life. And now to be more regulated, at least for the construct of my life living in Canada, I'm removed, but we see just as much as to what can dysregulate us up here potentially, which may or may not even be true because we don't know what real or fake anymore. So I can only imagine how it feels for you living in the United States right now to be a part of that collective on the ground dysregulation. And then
100%.
Knowing that. So
and even with that, like I've been even like moving. So even to something I've been like calling people to be more curious about, because even this like idea of regulation, right? I've been leaning more towards like nervous system flexibility, because even like that regulation in essence, as it's defined, as control, right? And so when we're moving through all of these processes around control and how we've been controlled, how we've had to learn how to control ourselves in spite of feeling things very intensely, I'm finding that working more towards flexibility and creating like a range of how the nervous system is working rather than, okay, this is me being regulated. I need to be still. My body needs to be here. And more about how are you able to be flexible as things are coming up to allow yourself to just be present with the process of what your body is doing. Because with all of the Aquarius, and that's even you like naming like the Pluto and Capricorn, and then we move to Pluto and Aquarius, where it's like, we have this influx of AI and not really knowing what the truth is. And also I've been telling people, be very mindful of the way in which even stuff here in the States is being like sent out, the way that things are like coming up with all of these things. It's very methodical. What we're seeing is that society is being thrown into an active state of attention and survival that is actually distracting us to the deeper truths of what is needing to happen collectively. So definitely less presence, more grounding. And I really believe in like simplicity. So literally just been for myself, like going out and making sure I put my feet on the ground, making sure I emphasize root vegetables, to make sure I emphasize like very grounding and stabilizing movements through my body so that I can create a sense of flexibility instead of feeling like I'm on guard all the time. And everything that I do as a vocation is through the direct experience of my journey of growing up in a very volatile home environment and needing to learn like how to understand that without necessarily fixing. And I think that's something too, that's kind of a fad. That was like the next question where there's like this, we need to fix things about ourselves when really it's, can you actually be more in observance of it? And this idea of fixing something means that whatever is present isn't serving a purpose. And it's just like a lot of these things that we have in place right now are protection mechanisms of the body. And so learning to understand that, just like through the lens of the shadow, when we hear things about the shadow, we tend to think that it's this negative thing. I always equate it to when I'm like talking about the light and the shadow, it's like the shadow is essentially, they're both children, right? And so it's like if a child is learning how to walk and the child falls down, do you go, get up, baby, you should know how to walk? It's like, no, we hold it, we hold space for it, we try to guide it, we try to understand a better way to help it gain its footing, right? And so
100%.
Yeah. So even with that, like with the times right now and things that are going on, I'm really personally being in a state of observance, which is what we do during the eclipses. We don't take action. We're in observance. We're going into a void space. So even if you try to take action, it typically tends to backfire and ensue in chaos. Yeah, it really brings to light. One of my teacher calls the eclipse space, it brings out the Bhutavidyas or the hungry ghosts, the inner demons, right? And so these inner demons and these hungry ghosts are coming up to be seen. And it's about what are you feeding it? Really, yeah.
The what are you feeding it and what's happening around you type of essence. Okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Let's go there for a second because
Yeah.
I'll go with a real life story for myself lately of things that
Yeah.
I guess I'm working on and that I'm like witnessing for myself is at least where my life has taken me in the past year in relationships of all types, whether it's been friendships, work, or romantic, is really trying to take the backseat approach, even to touch on some things that you were saying earlier about being very masculine myself as well. True.
Yeah.
Trying to learn how to work as an entrepreneur and essentially feeling very solo in my work for a lot of my life thus far, even though I've been a part of other groups, that how do I just be me and be the shining sacral light that I am? I'm also actually, I don't think I mentioned this to you at some point, I'm in air quotes, just a generator. I'm not a manifesting generator. But it's been interesting for me to see my work evolve, but still have the PT and the dance come about. But to take the backseat approach and just be the shining light that I am has been so challenging because right now I'm still noticing all the old activations get stirred up and how I'm trying to send messages and lean into being a non-emotional, because with you also having your sacral authority in your human design and not having a defined solar plexus. And Cancer rising. Like I can only imagine when you're in tune with just letting your emotion happen and then deal with it and then not responding to it with not sending messages or reacting, or you have a fire moon as well. You have a Sag moon. For me, I'm witnessing myself trying to change patterns, but in these new relationships that I've developed, let's say probably since probably the end of eclipse season, around Libra season in the fall, when we shifted just before the winter solstice, that it hasn't been easy to just be like, I know I'm responding differently, but I'm still being elected in the same way that I have been my entire life thus far. So when you become aware, it's not that much easier for a period of time of when you're able to see yourself, right?
It's like harder when you become aware.
Much harder.
Yeah.
I know you've probably got a good riff on just the, let's say, nuggets that I just brought up. How has that experience been on those kind of notes for yourself?
I think it's the Cancer rising thing of like constantly feeling that pressure. I was going to ask you, where your pressure centers, are they both open or do you have a defined pressure center?
All of my centers open. Except for my crown. I know my spleen, my root, my solar plexus, and my ego is open. So the entire bottom of my body. Yeah. It's an open channel down there.
Yeah. Okay. Even making it more important to like disconnect from like the pressure of the physical environment, which makes sense why you would do movement, why you teach movement. Yeah. Because it's so helpful.
So helpful.
So helpful.
I know from like you just saying primal movement background. And I'm sure you've probably done all the things. You've weightlifted, you've done this, you've done that. For me, at least going back to my roots, currently in the past couple of years, it's literally changed my life. Again, I knew it was going to, but I've gone back to flamenco dancing. So I am a professional flamenco dancer. Yep.
Beautiful.
And
I love that.
It is so great for the body. It's amazing.
100%.
Well, you get it all out. And if you don't have that in a week, something's wrong. I would definitely say that at least my own experience of thinking about my own ways that I look after my body through how I connect with clients, you just saying grounding and being flexible. That's something that I'm going to think about a little bit differently and mention that more to my son. The word of control is so, as soon as you said that, I was like, yep. Yeah. We need to
that immediately like invites in rigidity, right?
Yeah. Which is not the times that we're entering right now.
No.
I don't even know if I feel good about using the term Aquarian age. Yes, we know we're in there, but I think I identify more with new paradigm or this newer age of how we are shifting and to a certain extent needing AI.
Yeah.
Also to a certain extent, we have through our own journeys of understanding our own body and soul pasts, maybe let's put it that way, have gone through a certain amount of our own healing, our own trauma release to now be in a place where we're seeing all of these other humans that aren't caught up yet.
Yeah.
And you deal with a little bit more of the deeper stuff than maybe where I'm at on a surface level with just telling somebody to do bicep curls.
I don't know if that's necessarily surface level. I feel like it's very foundational.
I appreciate
that. I feel like movement is like the foundation of a lot of these things. Because even if we look at it through the lens of the nervous system, right? The movement of the body controls the movement of the mind, right? So when we're looking at survival states and we're looking at how, when we're in those survival patterns, whether it be fight, flight, appeasement, fawning, freeze, there's tension that is happening in the body. And the way to help release that is first to hold it and to like witness, right, the symptomatic response in the body. And then a lot of times it's to invite in movement and sound to help move the energy and create more spaciousness within the nervous system. I'm going to disagree with you on that I think that movement is actually foundational. What you're doing is not surface level. I think something too, just to even like touch on how you were like, we need AI. You know, I can feel that that's true in a sense where we need to be knowledgeable about the constructs that's happening. But I also feel like we are being called into reaccessing our roots and the ancestral codes in medicine that exist in the simplicity. We've been feeling into Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries, right? Where Aries is the spark. Aries is the primal instinct. Sometimes we call it the baby of the zodiac, but really for me, it's like the primal nature of the body before we start to gather resources and tours and define what's valuable to us. Even the way that we're being called to remember our humanity through this process of connecting with AI and not becoming dependent on it, allowing it to be something that we use as a tool, but not something that's like the basis or foundation of our practice, I think is super important too. And movement is the primary foundational basis of our existence.
Literally. So, when we get up out of bed, if we don't shrug our shoulders, check out what's going on, which is essentially the first movement we do in a day, we don't know how our body is going to respond to the day, right?
Exactly.
To touch on this note, because I feel like I want to, it feels prevalent, feels like my defined throat wants to say it. I have a longtime client and friend, and they are a manifester. They are a Gemini moon, Cancer rising. I have a lot of Cancer risings, just Cancers in general in my life. Beautiful. We know this. Gemini moon in the 12th, Cancer rising, and she's an Aries sun. And so she's about to just have the foundation of everything changed in her entire life, let alone her identity, all of these things. And she is super into AI. She has been working on a master's in psychology and mental health. And
beautiful.
Yeah, she's on the forefront of trying to better understand, because she'll put herself in these courses that she was telling me about, this one and our girlfriends over dinner, about AI safety. All of these different humans that are in this course, whether they are people of medicine, whether they are people of business, whoever they are, they all want to know how to better understand what's happening and where the potential for AI might go. And that's all what our smaller concepts of our conscious brain can right now think about where AI is going to take us. And it was so interesting to hear her say this. I was so pumped to hear all of it come out of her, because I was like, oh my God, this manifestor has no idea that they're going to initiate these great things. I was like, I kept my mouth shut, because sometimes I go a little too nerdy on the human design. And
I hear you.
Need to let my humans just talk about themselves. To go on the AI riff of just thinking about the security, but also not trying to control it, to go back to that theme, has been something that I know I'm surrounded myself enough with. Other than that, I barely use AI. I am so much in the day-to-day present moment with a client. The only thing I use AI for is occasionally getting Chat GPT, which is just a portion of AI, to write out Instagram posts for me.
That's
all I think I need it for.
I hear you on there.
Other than that, I feel very removed as much as some people can make us feel as though we need to know exactly what's going on. Otherwise, we're headed for said doomsday. I personally don't think we are, but we're a lot more things have to shift for how we're dealing with it. This is for sure, as we both feeling the day-to-day and grounding practices of not letting the fear of what we know, what's coming for us on that front is where I'm at on AI and those.
Yeah, 100%. I think just like a good practice of like, again, being with the moment, right? Because sometimes we'll throw ourselves into fear state or unnecessary anxiety by trying to understand or grasp something that we don't really know. And sometimes the best thing to do in those spaces is just to be okay with not knowing and to be like, all right, when I need to know, I know. And I think that's also such a Cancer rising thing where we're going to be like, I'm just going to feel what needs to happen here instead of like, because our Gemini 12th house can be like overthinking or overanalyzing or going into a mind spiral that ends up being a mindset for us in general and taking us away from like our own intuitive wisdom through the flow of the body.
100%. You get it. Do you have any planets in your 12th house?
No, I don't have any planets in my 12th house, but my Chiron is in my 12th house.
Is in Gemini. Yeah. Okay. This lifetime of healing there for sure. Yeah. Wow. My Chiron is next to my sun. So I have a stellium in Leo of my Mercury, followed by my Chiron, sandwiched then in between my sun.
Yeah. I'm like, let me pull your chart up. Here we go. Let me look at this chart.
While we do it live, everyone.
Yeah, let me do that.
And in my 12th house with Gemini, of just to say for those out loud, if people have prominent Gemini placements, I have my Juno, South Node, and Mars all right next to each other. It took me a long time to learn how to embrace that experience with understanding how my brain works for me, or associating mental capacity and 12th house shadows and vibes of how we sometimes don't understand ourselves as much.
100%.
Mars there is like
inflammatory.
It's awesome, but it's also not. Just say that out loud.
Hot thoughts that take you down like a psychological loophole. Yes.
Being a Cancer rising, sometimes I just ruminate on it for 3 days and I'm like, why did I just spend 3 days thinking about the same thing? Oh, this is why, to give me some other knowledge.
And also it's like the essence of the moon, right? Because Cancer is the moon. And so it just makes me feel into like how the moon is transiting through the zodiac, right? Every 2 to 3 days. So us really needing that processing time.
Oh my God. I love so much. We'll shift gears because now I am currently looking at Ashli's human design.
There's a lot going on there.
There's a lot, but it makes so much sense in this moment. As soon as I look at somebody's chart, I'm like, I get it. For how we connect, because your conscious sun is 34. How? No, so that 34 is a part of my, just like for yourself, authority. And to go real human design in this moment, my favorite description of 34 is just the word charisma. People don't.
That's the gate of charisma.
Yeah. They don't really, when people watch us, this is my experience of 34 from the outside. They're like, I'm just drawn to this person. I don't know why. They're just so cool. They have this light about them. And in many descriptions of when you look at gate 34, it'll talk about this like light that we start to understand, at least for myself. I've started to feel it a little deeper in my life and notice like where it comes up for me. But to have that as your conscious sun gate must be like awesome. I don't know. I'm in awe in this moment for you. So how is that experience?
Yeah, I feel like over the past couple of years, I've come to understand it more deeply. I think it also, maybe it's how like that martyr, that 3 line for me, where it's like people will tend to look at me, they'll forget that I'm human. A lot of times they'll be drawn to me and they like feel this sense of being seen or open around me. And then when I feel like I need to withdraw or I need to take care of myself, it's almost like I'm taking their shiny toy away, and like they'll be blinded to, I've had it been used against me. I literally was in a relationship that I had to close out where there were things that were activating. Like after I turned 35, a lot of things were being activated within my chart. And I'm not really familiar with how that activates in human design. I'd be really curious about that as far as like ages. After 35, I really started to step into ownership of that power that I have. I also have a Mercury Scorpio in my 5th house with Pluto. So I'm good to penetrate deeply. I'm good at helping people penetrate deeply, bringing that expression out. I found once I started moving in a direction after 35, I'm 38 now, where I was owning that sense of like my charisma, right? But really not as comfortable with it yet. Like, okay, this is it. I'm recognizing this is a thing. And also, like, don't look at me. Leave me alone. My Scorpio Mercury is letting me be in the shadows with this.
Yeah.
I recognized that some relationships I was in were intimidated by that. I remember this one friend, she literally said, when I was telling her, like, I was moving through a lot, I was getting busier with my own business, and I didn't have like as much space to just have like hour and a half long conversations. She said, don't give me that I'm Miss Popular bullshit. And I remember hearing that and being like,
whoa.
Yeah. And I remember like that really hit me deeply because I was like, man, like I feel like I show up and I caretake and I like do a really good job of being your friend. And I'm in a moment of time where a lot of things are shifting for me. And I don't have as much like personal time because I'm really moving towards growing I've been working with my business like actively for, I would say 12 years, but like more so as my only source of like income for the past 4 to 5 years. I was really like moving through a period of like self-discovery. I'm learning how to balance personal life and my business, which is taking off. And now you're using this as a point of being upset with me and said this thing that felt very high schoolish. I just remember being like, wait, what?
Huh?
And so I think something too, which you're probably experiencing this as well with the Saturn, Neptune into Aries and it being in our house of legacy, right? And it's also like this authority that we're stepping into where I've been finding myself, where I'll hear a reflection, like with my partner, where he's like, you're an authority on things. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, yeah, I know my stuff, but like really being uncomfortable, like stepping into that like place of authority, right? I'm learning that is necessary. And I really think like the Saturn Neptune moving into our 10th house. Okay, I need to be comfortable with like, what is my legacy and what kind of authority am I? And how do I actually want that to be expressed? Right. My North Node and my Jupiter are also in Aries. So,
okay. Another reason why in this moment, I'm like, okay, we're connecting for so many reasons. Light bulbs, something that you mentioned very organically at the beginning, even before we started recording. That is such a thing for us as being health practitioners. There are certifications, there are degrees, there are ways as to which our, in air quotes, modern society says that this is how we look after humans and how we say who an authority is. I love that we're moving into an age where literally Neptune and Saturn are rewriting that. They're rewriting it for us, let alone the collective. Is like perfect timing. So thank goodness. To even tie a cool human design moment into this, I learned only yesterday, I know of a manifester that went through medical school in 2 years and was legitimately licensed in order to begin his practice. And I was like, wait, what?
Well, trying to do the math on that. I'm like, wait, that's not where I thought that was going. Okay.
I'm like, this is somewhat been rewritten for literally to our energy type, to how we allow ourselves to do what our now grounded authority is telling us to draw in all these like circles of the things we've been talking about. I'm so happy that we're in such a time where we're trying, because we've done so much of our own work, to be able to do this now, that we don't care XYZ. You have so many qualifications. You had your scroll list at the beginning. I want to come to you for if I had an issue where I'm like, Ashli needs to support me for this. I cannot wait. For same for myself. I'm about to begin a course soon. Actually, I'm thinking to myself, should I be beginning this in eclipse season? I'm going to start a course to learn how to speak to babies that are not born yet, because I'm working with a lot of prenatal and postpartum moms. And we're just going to lean into that. It's such a time where I'm so pumped that we get to rewrite what it is to be a a health practitioner and just say that we have all of these things, because there's going to be so many different humans that come to us. I'm also pumped to hear that you are fully able, I'm going to guess, self-employed entrepreneur land of how you essentially, let's also just say, feed yourself, support yourself in your life through such a masterful way. I'm going to use that. That's the first word that came to me. Masterful way of working with different clients, because of working with, I'm now going to use the word alternative health practitioner pretty much only since COVID.
Yeah.
It's been a different experience for me, because that's when I really started to do some of my own work. So we're probably only about 6.5 years into really understanding my own worldly experience, is that it takes a long time. There are so many shared processes. And so I can only imagine the experiences you've had to understand for yourself to do what you do.
Yeah. Even with that, where it's even this idea that we have, because we live in a society that's so one instant gratification and so geared towards like this idea of being healed.
Yeah.
Well, I really like to emphasize that life is not linear. Nothing within nature is linear, and life is a spiral, right? We are in this constant space of setting and coming to different levels of healing. That is going to be a process that we are in continuously in the span of our lifetime. Even taking the pressure off there, just being like, okay, this is the part of the process where I'm always going to be in a process of healing. And every time I rip off a layer, it's going to bring up spaces for me to witness that are indicative of the moment, right? And that's even another thing too, because I think sometimes when we're a practitioner in the way that we are, and we're going through these spaces of transmutation, it's sometimes easy to get like that sense of imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
We're moving through this process of healing. And then the question comes, well, can you actually be in healing work with others if you're still in this process of healing? And the answer is, yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And it's necessary. It makes me feel into even what you're like, this guy went through medical school and was done in 2 years. Right. How much was he actually able to integrate that and apply it into his own life before applying it to others? With any practitioner you're working with, you want someone who is in a state of constant transmutation, because that means they're always in a state of growing, learning more, able to move through life experience, and through that life experience that they are processing and moving through, they can actually help you process on a deeper level. I think that's something too that we're seeing a lot of, is people entering into certain modalities without an anchor point or a connection point and how that's actually applied for them personally. They're just like doing these things because they see that it's like niche in the moment, but there's no actual personal connection to it. And that's where it can cause more damage, you know?
Yes.
I'm just curious too, if you don't mind me asking a question.
Yes.
Because of this thing, like working with spirit babies coming up, it reminds me of one of the recent classes we were talking about neuroceptive trauma and prenatal trauma. And the fact that when we are in utero in about 16 weeks, the nervous system of the baby, the fetus, actually connects to the nervous system of the mother. From that point, during the gestation process, everything that the mother is experiencing in her own world gets imprinted onto the fetus. What they're finding is that when these babies become adults, it's showing like certain signifiers of like certain attachment styles or certain spaces like that they're interested in exploring through the connection of what they've been imprinted on through like epigenetics and things like that. I'm curious of your birth story. Yeah, and how you feel like that maybe is connecting to this new thing that's coming up within you, because Tempras is also the mother. So it's like, yeah.
Right. I don't know a lot about my birth story, or I do know that I was vaginally delivered by my mom. So kudos, go mom.
Yeah.
Other than that, I just know that my experience as a baby before like even truly be like turning into a toddler was that I was, in air quotes, a good baby. I slept. I didn't have so-called complications or issues, or didn't, up to even say one random things, didn't have a hard time latching on to my mom's nipple as something that can be difficult depending on baby. But like
100%.
For me and some just like life experiences, own uncoverings in the past year of life as a whole, I experienced, and I feel open to say it, I got pregnant, and I was fortunate enough to live in a country where I did choose to have an abortion. That had its own experience. And it truly felt like it was correct at the time. And then I have been so blessed enough to have this wonderful woman and her family come into my life. I've finally now experienced what it's like to be around younger children more often.
Yeah.
And her toddler, being around humans and clients that are trying to get pregnant, that are telling me their stories. Then I started to do some unconscious healing and subconscious healing around this issue for myself, and have had my own past life things that I've worked on uncovering and understanding. And then now it's been brought to my attention that I could do this as a certification. So maybe this is something I'm supposed to do. And I definitely felt into it for a while. I'm probably going to come across better understanding my own birth story. Who knows?
But even you have a birth story through your own personal experience.
Yeah.
That even I just feel into the connection of that, of the personal desire to connect with the spirit baby that's still out there, applied principle and applied theory through your own experience. And it's opening this doorway for you, to more deeply understand like how that can be helpful or of service to others through being of service to yourself.
Yeah. And I definitely wasn't on my radar this time last year. Who knows?
Yeah.
Of like thinking that this could be a course, or just the energy of that this is something that I am here to provide for others. It took me a long time to feel into this purpose, but definitely on the Cancer rising vibe of feeling that I am here as a soul having a human experience that is meant to provide also my Hygeia, to mention like healing asteroid is actually in Cancer for me.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And it's really close to my ascendant. And who told me that is Kira. So thanks, Kira. Yeah. Of feeling into the purpose of just soul in this body of wanting to be here to heal others has definitely taken a root in the past few years that I feel feels very true to my essence, and doesn't feel finally like I am just day in, day out trying to tell somebody how to deadlift, kind of monotony of how I was experiencing my experience pre-COVID. These gifts I've been given. It's cool to then again see where this new foundation of purpose through experience gives me, at least.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I was going to say out loud, probably the reason why some of our words are slow and or whatever is because we're in that pre-retrograde shadow.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, so the internet better do good today. So we've been doing good so far. The third question that I had written to you is, we are both humans that truly embrace the it depends, or this noting of being flexible around how we look at our health day to day. Just that energy for when it comes to helping our clients through their injuries and just what's happening, a health concern, whatever they're coming to you for. What do you think is the next health fad to help our society in preventative and long-term healthcare? What's the new thing that you've been feeling into the ethers or thinking about?
Yeah. So one thing I will say, when I first read the question, I laughed because I tend to shy away from fads. And I was like,
same.
I
fucking hate them. That's a strong word.
Something we were touching on too, where it's like this thing where people are doing certain certifications or to transmit certain things without the life experience to back it up. What I feel like, if I was like, what's the tone, right? What do I feel is super necessary? I really think the direction as a collective we're moving into is definitely, we're going to be more interested in the energetics and the clairs of intuition. I've been teaching the clairs of intuitions for like over a decade, working with it for almost 2. So I think that there's going to be this more fuller, in-depth, tangible presence of like spiritual consciousness in the mundane, the connection of, so a lot of the work, I'm a medical intuitive as well. And one of my strongest gifts is clairsentient, which is clear feeling, but it's physical feeling. So whereas like clear empathy is more of the sensing of like other people's emotions or what's physically happening with them, it's more of like a visceral in the body feeling. It feels like you have clairsentience as well. Also, if I'm like tapping into you. Yeah.
Probably. So, and I see these are gifts that I don't know I truly exist yet, because we're getting there. So
yeah. When it comes to like certain health practices or like life outcomes or the way in which we're moving, that I definitely think we're going to be seeing this bridge of people being more interested in the spiritual and more esoteric connections to actual science. I think because I've been doing that for a little while, it feels more normal to me, right? And I'm really interested to see people like yourself who are like have been unconsciously doing it, but are becoming more conscious, like, oh, this is the thing that I've been doing this whole time, but I wasn't really sure, like understanding that's what I was doing. And so I think there's also going to be more of a desire just to hit on like the Pluto and Aquarius and the way in which like AI is creating this rift in like how we even meet humanity or like what it is to be human. I think that there's going to be more of a desire for people to go back to their roots and like ancestral practices. I think we're going to see more people moving into modalities and using human design and astrology as a part of diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah.
Like Kira Sutherland, she does the medical astrology. She very much is like an esoteric babe. And
100%.
can't,
But
yeah,
it's
and
so
can't,
scientific at the same time.
right.
It's like
100%.
she's our
Yeah.
unofficial like practitioner mom.
Like I see that in my partner. So he does a lot of things. He's an herbalist. He's an Ayurveda. He's a medical astrologer, but he also was a bro. He used to be like a big football player and he's got his bachelor's in sports medicine. One of my like greatest teachers at the moment right now is Sigourney Bell, and she's with Soma Mystica. She very much also has a medical background. And then later on in her life started to realize that there was this spiritual connection. She also just really bridges science and spirituality. And so I think moving forward as a collective, we're going to see more people leaning into that as opposed to just strictly traditional medicine.
Yeah. Or just strictly spiritual medicine too. I think it's gonna
right. 100%.
the true
Yes.
melding of both. I've been dipping my toe into this esoteric world because I've been working on my own ways in which I felt called energetically to find my own self-awareness or better understand my own story.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of shame around, oh my God, I'm into human design. This thing is going to define my life. I'm going to be a reader. Like I went through all of that stage and then not feeling confident saying to the world, I am this person and I'm obsessed with this thing because I dealt with a lot of in earlier adult years of my life of humans not feeling like they were accepting of something that is of my being and that I am, and I'll say to myself that I am a dancer as much as it's come in and out of my life now as an adult. This will be like a sidebar question.
Yes.
Before we get into a human design astrology question is, have you experienced something similar for yourself throughout all of your years of all of these beautiful certifications and things that you do for humans? Have you experienced shame around how you speak about what you do and just how different?
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's always interesting too, like, even if we look like through the lens of human design and astrology, how a lot of us are not raised within our design.
Yeah.
Astrology, right?
Our next question, are we living in design?
Right. I think too, where it's like now we have more resources, right? So you can definitely see where there is this almost like this feeling of things getting lost in translation as we're trying to step into the fullness of who we are, that not really being understood by the generations that came before us, unless they're like deeply tied into certain practices. The most prevalent thing that comes up to me was when I was in some of my initiation rites with plant medicine. I remember when I was going through training with Bufo alvarius, which is a toad medicine. The practitioner who was like one of my mentors under it, I was in like a really difficult time. I was in a relational transition. It was a relationship I was in after being like married for 11 years and got into the relationship only 6 to 8 months after, and then was with him. It was so exciting and fun at first and so different than my marriage that I lost myself a little bit and was still like on my spiritual path and practice. I remember going through my initiation with that. We would hold, and it activated my sacral authority, like super hard, like really activated my sacral authority and really activated like permission within me to be like sacrally active, right? Be connected to some, she's like a long story because the woman, she was also a therapist as well. So she was my mentor slash therapist. She knew the information about my life story with my mother, which is kind of a sticky situation with her. She was very promiscuous, like all growing up. There's a lot of issues within my family dynamic towards being sacral, right? She was definitely a representation of unhealthy sacral, right? So I go through initiation and my sacral becomes very activated. That was around the time I started training in primal movement as well. And I remember she told me that I could not hold medicine ceremonies, or I could not be a medicine woman and be connected to my sacral, that I was bringing like sexual energy into ceremony. I remember even talking to people that would be in the medicine circles or people we were working with. I would just ask them, I'm like, do you feel like I'm being sexual in ceremony? Because I really hold such a deep reverence for being able to be a facilitator in that way. I remember getting reflections like, no, like actually it's very nourishing. Ended up feeling her own wounds around her sacral that she projected onto me, and pretty much just made this statement of, you can't be sacrally activated and serve medicine or be facilitating for people. That was about 6 years ago. That was definitely an opening space for me where I felt a lot of like shame and guilt and had to do some deep observation around, is that true? It didn't help that she brought up a lot of stuff about my mother too. It was like, you're just like your mother. I was like, whoa, like, yeah, it was actually it was a very difficult process because she was also a woman that I looked up to as a mother figure. To get like that reflection from her that actually wasn't seated in truth. I remember even telling her, like, that doesn't feel like my truth. I feel like you feel that way and that's not my truth. I really need to trust that my body is telling me that's not the truth, because I'm, again, open pressure centers.
Yeah.
Is this the truth? I don't know. I was like, but it really doesn't feel like. And I went through a period of time with that around, yeah, am I allowed to be a sacral authority? Am I allowed to carry this type of energy? And had to really learn to trust like my own inner voice and inner sense of self as far as moving in certain spaces. Did that answer your question?
100% with a big 1-3.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you my example of this moment in my life. I realize I do that too. In this moment, I'm I wonder if you have gate 35, but no. So gate 35 it's actually a Gemini gift, but it's the keeper and teller of stories. And I find I'm that person that draws it in, whether it's my own or whatever. I love that analogy of sometimes that inflicted shame is literally from someone else. My brain went off on, I wonder if she's a 5-1. Projecting that 5.
Maybe I don't have her design, but I would, maybe I'll try to find her information because I might have her astrology. I'll get to her birthday.
That was my own moment of trying to be nerdy. And now into the question of, do you feel that you and your partner are both really trying to embrace you being the 1-3 Manigen? And what is your partner's human design?
He is a 3-5.
3-5. Sweet. 3-5 Manigen?
Yeah. No, he's a projector. He's a splenic authority projector. Yeah.
Cool.
It's helpful. I think it is a single definition too, and I'm a split. My first line is unconscious and his is conscious. Like the interplay of, I suppose, like throwing things against the wall, but in different ways.
Yeah.
The difference in our energy where I'm just like, let's do this. He's taught me the importance of the pause in my impulsive nature of manifesting generator, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do all these things and I'm going to go until I burn out and then I crash for 2 to 3 days. He's really taught me through like his projector's like need of emptying. He's also cave in his environment.
His mountains, what feels like completely opposite.
It's so opposite. It's been like super interesting to see how those two things kind of balance each other out, but can also be very triggering. A lot of our own like ideas of ourselves are like, So what was the question?
Do you guys feel like you are living your design? And I'm
100%.
I love that. I would definitely say now, because I found out about human design in 2022. We're going into the 4th year. It was like literally almost to the exact of the middle of my Saturn returns. My Saturn is in Aquarius. I needed the foundation ripped out from under me of better understanding how my life was operating.
Yeah.
I got given human design and then just got super nerdy about it. I definitely have been saying to everyone in the way that I speak about human design is that we've all been living it. We've all actually been doing it, because otherwise we'd be dead. You know, a generator would eventually frustrate itself to death, basically, or continual sickness. It's a very cut-way through, but it makes sense. I better know my tell of when I start to feel any type of like, it's literally just downed energy. It doesn't even feel like frustration yet. It's just when my sacral doesn't feel lit up. for you also having a sacral authority, I'm sure you have your own experience of what that means for you, because it is different for every sacral. At least how I've started to interpret it. And yeah, it's really great when you're saying no to the things you need to say no to, or you're starting to figure out what were supposed to be yeses. And then when they come out the no's, because that's also a thing nobody tells you is the thing that you're supposed to say yes to some things, and eventually they're no. The biggest thing that I think will always be relearning for non-emotionals, and at least for me, not having a defined ego. And one thing that was maybe me feeling into a clairvoyant of your own energy is I was like, I feel like Ashli's ego is in the way that she operates it with her design, is a very healed ego. It does not feel like you're throwing this gotta do tended energy out at me as we record this. But I have lots of defined egos around me, and I am very addicted to defined egos. I think undefineds are very addicted to them because we feel so much energy when we're around them, and we love it. And then we don't know why we're not motivated when we're not around them anymore. That is something I've been learning how to figure out how to deal with more.
Beautiful. So.
What is and how am I living my design with knowing what centers are defined and what not? But it's just a continual reprocess of realizing what lights me up every day.
Yeah, that's the spiral. There you go.
I wouldn't want to be living my life any other way with knowing that I have this knowledge about human design. I literally do want every human to know just what energy type they are, because that's honestly all we need to know at the end of the day.
Exactly. That's the roots. Yeah.
The energy type and our authority. If we know that, we're fine. We don't need all this extra mumbo jumbo, because the rest will sort itself out.
100%. Even the way I like to approach design is I'm definitely like, okay, my type, my strategy, those are the roots. Sometimes even profile, that's the roots. And then the other things like our incarnation across the digestion, the motivation, the perspective, all of that is the trunk. And then we move into the branches with the gates, and then the leaves of the tree with the channels, and things like that. Even if you look at the way it's given to us, I go top to bottom, but it's really bottom to top, right?
Totally.
It's a small, I feel with any practice or any modality that you're learning, or just any experience that you're having in life, it's so important to understand the foundations and the basic principles, because if you understand the foundations and the basic principles of anything, then everything else that's embellished within it is easier to understand.
I feel that to the hardcore of being the 1-3, of getting down the simplistic rabbit hole of let's just look at this definition one more time.
I think too, people, we become distracted by the extra stuff, right?
Oh my God, there's so much extra crap in human design.
So much information. It's really a lifelong tutelage. I just also think it's definitely through the person, right? Then the way they're transmitting it, or the way that they're able to metabolize or understand it, it makes it such a beautiful and expressive modality, and so much fucking information that it's just you always can learn more, right? You always can learn more, but sometimes can be a little, I just think about our Gemini 12th house.
Yeah, literally that.
It can be dizzying, right? It can be dizzying at times. I'm really curious. I have a question for you.
We're in open discussion now, folks. What is your question for me, Ashli? I'm very interested.
Yes. So I'm curious, when it comes to right now, you're the movement practice and working as a PT with clients. What do you like to look at when it comes to design as the gateway? What's the first thing that you would look at? And then what are ways in which you would customize the best way for them to digest the movement or be with the movement? How do you do that?
This is a beautiful question, because this is where I've been trying to go with my practice as a personal trainer now, with human design for how many years. When I find out someone's design, let alone their precursor of injuries before even looking if they have injuries, or background of this is why I'm starting personal training, or I'm also a stretch therapist as well. I stretch my humans and also make them strong. Is that a projector will most likely not like cardio unless it's a monochromatic, they're running, they're swimming, they're doing the thing. They want to learn how to weightlift. They want to learn, but take it slow. They want to learn all of the integral pieces of how do I turn on my transverse abdominals while I do this thing. They'll get nerdy with me and ask me a million questions.
Cameron,
I love it. I didn't know that before human design. And I was like,
right.
just intuitively figuring out how to deal with these humans
Yeah.
and how my training style would adapt client to client.
Mhm.
This is the person that's coming to me for this. And then I would find out they're a projector. And I'm like, oh, I will be truthful in that some clients, I don't know their design still. And it will somewhat bug me for, probably the rest of my existence of my career. But that's also fine. I am getting better at being able to guess and or just naturally be like, once I get to know someone super well, one with the guys that are working with how it's changing their physical body. Yeah. This is what you like. So we're going to keep doing it regardless of knowing this about your energy type. But projectors, slow or monochromatic cardio, Mani-gens, I now better understand why clients come and go if they're a manifesting generator. Sometimes I just have to find that perfect thing for them for that 2-year period of training time. And then they peace out and then they come back in another year. And I'm like, hey, that's fine. Because that's what you do. I have never currently trained a reflector, but I've spoken.
I don't even think I've met a reflector yet, to be completely honest.
Oh my God, probably will at some point. You will, for sure.
I'm curious. So your perspective on this, because I have worked with self-projected projectors, and to me, that feels very much like reflector.
I've talked with quite a few. I even have a podcast recorded with one of them.
Okay. Yeah. Would you say that's in line a little bit with reflector energy? I don't have enough experience with reflectors.
Yeah. Thinking about the reflectors that I've met, how they work, they definitely feel introspective. Yeah. In this moment, I'm channeling this woman that I met at a fair, and I was speaking human design all day, and I met one reflector that day, and her energy was very interesting. It was ethereal, and it was just, it was loving. And of course, she's probably picking up, of course, on my sacral of loving energy. So that. I have a girlfriend that I was with on Friday. Her partner is a reflector, and she's a manifesting generator. Yeah. They're around me and they feel introspective, but on of me viewing them, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Right.
But I can only imagine what it feels like on the inside for them, because I don't think they think they're introspective.
Right.
That's my experience on the outside looking at them. So for fitness, they just know that they have to be in environments that support them. Yeah. So if they are somebody that likes to lift weights, they've got to be in the right gym, or they've got to be outside doing it, or they've got to find the place that suits how their energy is supporting them. It'll be really interesting when I have an actual reflector properly pop into being one of my clients at some point. Who knows?
Yeah.
Manifestors, again, another energy that pops in and out because of their burst of when they're in workout mode and when they're not in workout mode at all. Honestly, training generators is the easiest, because basically, you just have to make them continually feel like their energy is not beat up in a workout. I do truly feel that at the end of the workout, we should never feel like our nervous system is shot. Exactly. And that's something that through my background took me so long to learn, because I came into the fitness space through the reason why I asked a question about health fads is because I came into fitness through CrossFit when it was super heavy in 2010, 2011. I'm so thankful that was my initial fitness experience, because I learned a lot very quickly. Yeah. But again, we know that it's a modality that just beats up our nervous system. That's essentially all it does.
100%. Yeah.
And
100%.
We love to dislike it. Truthfully, at the end of the day, generators will still get burnt out from that as well, because I know I've been there and done that. Manifesting generators as well. So far, that's all the types, because we don't have... Now, this is a cool random thing to riff on. Then I know we'll get to the moment where unfortunately we'll have to end. But I know we're getting there, and it's sad because I'm like, we could talk all day. Really talk all day. Now we're getting really close to 2027. And this is when in human design, through its literature, it says that officially new paradigm is here. And do you know that there's going to be another energy type that somehow pops in? I bet. Did you not know?
I did not know that. I did not know that. No,
oh my God.
So I'm so curious to hear about this. Look at you adjusting in my seat. Tell me more.
I don't know that much. Okay. I think I'm probably supposed to pop it into people's awareness. I know that you're probably supposed to know this somehow. Is that in I don't know if it'll happen in 2027, but at some point we're going to get another energy type, because the solar plexus is mutating and it's going to turn into awareness centers in our hands. That's all I know.
Which is so interesting, because we were talking about the shift in what is going to become the fad, or the way in which society or the collective is moving forward when it comes to health. It just makes me feel in tune to this experience, especially for intuitive people that we've been feeling, where it's kind of like, I'm curious how you've been feeling. If it's been this yo-yo for you of being very fatigued and tired and finding that you actually need more rest than you usually do and being very activated in that, where we're moving towards a time where we use our hands a lot in healing work, right? Where that's going to become more necessary and society is going to need more people that are doing hands-on healing. I'm also curious if this human design, like this new type that's coming out, because there's something that I've seen circulating, and I think I'm going to butcher the name of it because they're talking about this 13th zodiac as well.
This has been like this weird random topic that if you Google it, people are like, nope, it's not a thing. Then other people are like, yep, it's a thing. But then that's the internet anyway.
Right.
Who knows?
Exactly.
I bet you I'd put it out there as being the potential as well. Who knows? Because anything's possible.
Right. Because they're like saying like something between, I know it's between Scorpio and Sagittarius. They're actually saying there's going to be like, there's this 13th zodiacal sign that's there. I want to say, what is it called? I'm going to butcher the name. It's like Ophia. I know it means like the snake bearer or something like that, or the serpent bearer, which is also super interesting that we're coming out of the snake here and we're going to the fire horse. And there's just like how we've come this year of the snake, and this transition into fire horse is such a big transmutative thing that it's almost as this kicking off this interest or this idea that's coming out now that there's this other 13th sign. Again, I don't know how much validity is in that. Now I'm like definitely curious. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening here?
Hang on, are both of these things aligning? Probably are.
Yeah.
It's bonkers that of you just mentioning, yes, we're coming out of the year of the snake, and it's got this essence of snake to it. I'm surprised we don't have a zodiac sign that is a snake, because we don't.
Yeah, which is super interesting. But then the only thing closest to it is going to be Scorpio.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting because Scorpio can be so snake essence. And then I think about Sagittarius, it's literally the fire horse. It's literally the centaur and a fire sign. And so then we have this zodiacal sign that's like the serpent bear. I don't know. It's really interesting. And now you're saying it's like coming to the hands. I just even think about the hands as they're like our first point of reference to exploring the world. Also, this the primal energy we've moved into Aries with Saturn and Neptune, and how as babies, as like as we come out of the womb, the way we explore the world and first learn the world is through our hands.
It'll be really interesting to see, like, and I mention it because we're both people that are on the forefront of wanting to understand and bring this knowledge into, because at some point we're going to have to know it for how we speak to our clients. Who knows then where it's going to take us in medicine, of realizing that there are babies that are born that have this even more level of a sixth sense when it like truly comes to fruition. There's so much speculation in anywhere in whatever modality of learning or medicine that I think the first time I heard about it, I'm pretty sure it was through the woman that I learned human design from, who is at her height and who knows like where her development goes. I took Jenna Zoe's courses. She's very easy to find, and she's very on the forefront. She's very Aquarian. She's Virgo rising, rising, and I think a double Aquarius. I think she's Aquarian moon. I know. I can only imagine how she's dealing with this energy right now.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it was through some of her stuff, because she's also like a high intuitive downloader for such a long time about what was going to happen at different stages along the transition of even the human design timeline.
Right.
And back hundreds of years ago, we had projectors come in. So there's going to be another point where our world has changed so much. We need another energy type to help us. If we're alive for that, like, that's fucking cool.
Right. I just feel into how we like touched on like the epigenetics or the like the neuroceptive prenatal trauma, right? And thinking about how, it's like people our age and a little bit younger who are now having children, right? The way in which we're more resourced and more spiritually aware and in tune, and how that's getting passed through and processed into the womb. And so the children being born from that, or definitely it would make sense that they would have a higher state of awareness
100%
and connection to their energy body than say opposed to kids that were being born when we were being born. I even feel like when we were being born, we still, have access to more things. And through like our life experience, we definitely have access to more like tools and resources when it comes to spiritual awareness. These next babies that are coming out are going to be tapped into something through the nervous system of the mother and the spiritual awareness of the mother, that it would only make sense that we have little star babies being born.
Right? Even,
Yeah.
yeah, I love how you said that. Star babies and just more intuitive children to
Yeah.
what their own gifts are as their soul chooses to be a human.
Yeah.
I don't want to end, but we're going to have to end. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your gifts and all of just where we intuitively went. All of your information is going to be in the show notes of just being like, this is how to get a hold of you. I'm going to ask right away so people know when they're listening, can they have virtual appointments with you for all of the beautiful things that you do?
100%. They can do, I do a lot of things virtually. The only thing I can't do is like physically put my hands on you. I do a lot of things. I can also perform like psychic surgery and energy healing via virtual.
Via the Zoom. I love it. Thank goodness that we have the internet. That was an AI.
Yes.
I needed that when the internet was developed. The only thing that I say when we sign off is to remember that we're fearless, and that's it.
And weight of that being your legacy now moving forward. I love that for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I think that we're also just being fearless together in this crazy Earth experiment.